is not. Oh. Hey guys. So today I figured I would step away from the the mature orchids and go into our tissue culture efforts a little bit because I haven't really done much of a tissue culture video recently, and I wanted to prove that things didn't get contaminated and whatnot. So let's dive in. Currently, under my light here, I have several jars with Phalaenopsis. They are starting to form protocorms in there. I'm starting to see a little bit of green. Hopefully these guys will green up sooner than later. The younger batch from a different mother plant. We have a couple of things going on. Just a heads up, when you do any kind of hybridization, especially for dealing with other hybrids, you're going to get variability in how seeds germinate and how quickly they do so. So I've been working with the Phalaenopsis a lot, kind of as practice tissue culture things. And because Phalaenopsis are so heavily hybridized and you don't always know their origin, I am not at all surprised that my younger batch is greening up before my older batch. As you can see in here, I kind of messed with the jar a little bit earlier, so some of the protocorms got to the sides of the jar. I did just put this under the glove box with some sterile water just to kind of rinse the majority of these guys back down onto the media. I do have a couple that I accidentally extracted from here that I obviously now can't put back in, but we can take a look at the development of the protocorms. So I call these preemie just because on the 24th of September, why is this not like very good? Okay, on the 24th of September, the flower stalk that the seed pod was on was starting to wither a little bit, but it wasn't fully aged. I think it was only like 3.5 or 4 months old. I generally would wait a little bit longer to harvest the Phalaenopsis seed pod. Long story short, it wasn't a fully mature seed pod, but I salvaged it and I jarred up the resultant seeds, and you can see that they are getting nice and green on the media. This is just a modified P668 media. The median here is getting a little runny. Maybe I'll stick another, maybe I'll put this one in the glove box later and put a sterile cotton ball in there to soak up that extra water. I took one of my Cattleya intergeneric seed pods. What is this? Oh, that's another foul. If you look into this fairly liquefied media, you might be able to see some protocorm activity. I might pipette the stuff out of this later onto more solid media. I took my Cattleya intergeneric seed pod, and the pod was starting to wither and turn yellow, so I removed it and I got the seeds out. The seeds kind of look like Parmesan cheese. That is not mold growing in there, and I'm hoping no mold will grow in there, but I plated up the seeds, and I have 3 jars of that, and so these guys will kind of stay under this light and hopefully they will grow. The mother plant was the SLC Doris and Byron. It's a very nice looking orangey intergeneric hybrid Cattleya, and I think the pollen came from Cattleya Happiness, which is more of a reddish colored Cattleya, but I can't remember what the father plant was. But since it's a crossing anyway, I doubt that all of the offspring will look the same. Hopefully they'll germinate. They are on Knudsen 400 media with a little bit of potato, banana, and pineapple powder added in, as well as the other couple of quick things. I think you need to add the gel engagement to that media, but I don't quite remember. Then in here, I have my Cypripedium seeds that I'm not going to bother for several more months because Cypripedium seeds need absolute darkness. In this cabinet, I have some Goodyear seeds as well as a few Pogonia and Paphiopedilum seeds in jars on media, various types of media. I do occasionally open this just to see the jars, make sure nothing is contaminated. Nothing has contaminated really, except for one Pogonia jar, which I got rid of weeks ago. But basically, if anything were going to contaminate, it would have by now. And finally, under here, the when I stuck the cotton ball in, of course, I accidentally took up some of the protocorms. Um, I still have plenty of protocorms in the jar, so why won't this? So the it's not that big of a deal, not the end of the world. You can see they're greening up. You can see the round shape, especially if you look towards the right end of the screen. They're still very round. They look like they may have a little bit of hair. They almost look like sphinx moth eggs. If anybody's ever worked with sphinx moths, they're a little bit smaller. They're green, which means they're starting to become photosynthetic, but they're still largely masses of undifferentiated cellular material. This cotton ball is dripping wet. Yeah, you can see I accidentally picked up some of the protocorms. There's no point in putting them back in the media right now because they are contaminated, but I don't want to contaminate my entire jar. It's not the end of the world. I'm just kind of getting a feel for tissue culture with the Phalaenopsis, and I have plenty to go around anyway. Actually, it is kind of cool to remove a couple and take a look at see what's going on, even if that means sacrificing those couple. So that's what's going on with tissue culture right now, and I'll probably be making more tissue culture follow-ups, especially when it comes time to replate. These are still a little bit small for replating. If I really wanted to, I probably could, but it's actually safer to kind of leave the protocorms be at this point. They're a little small. They may not appreciate being jostled around too much. Actually, I tried to look at some of the protocorms through the jar, which is how some of them wound up on the sides of the jar, which is why I had to take some sterile water and rinse them back onto the media. And that didn't work perfectly. I still have a couple of them sticking along the edge of the jar, but if I can get just, a few dozen to fully differentiate out on the media so I can deflask them, I'll be satisfied.